My fucking coat hangers. And what the fuck is that? Dear Peter, your presence is required at the request of your children. Jace Hook. You know, this is the second time this month I've had my house pretty much broken into for stupid, ridiculous shit like this. You know, and it says, Dear Peter. That's not my fucking name. I don't know whoever left this, I don't know what the hell they're looking for, but... Wait a minute. I've seen this before. Wait 1 second. Yep, it was familiar. I fucking knew it. Hook for SNES. This game's actually pretty awesome though. It came out in 1992. It was developed by Yuki Otai Studios. Yuki Otai Studios actually was founded by a bunch of former Capcom employees after some sort of inner turmoil caused the company to split. I mean, obviously not in half, but a bunch of people left. Yuki Otai Studios is mostly known for Skyblazer and a couple spin-offs based on the Metal Slug franchise. Hook also came out on the Sega Genesis, the Sega CD, and the Sega Game Gear. All the ports were handled by Spidersoft, which is not a lot of information on. All 4 versions of the game are essentially identical, the one difference being that the Sega CD version has full voiceover and uses the soundtrack from the 1991 film that it's based on. The games are mostly received well, but ended up falling into obscurity due to, a couple reasons. Reason number 1, it's a movie-based title. If you're any sort of video gaming enthusiast, you most certainly know that movie tie-in games are destined to fail. Often the games accompany a blockbuster hit, attempting to piggyback on the success of the film. Developers are paid a nice sum of money to essentially crank out a game as fast as possible. There are some notable exceptions to this rule, but most turn out to be simply the afterbirth of a successful film project. Reason number 2, not everyone liked the movie Hook. I watched this movie all the time when I was a child. I absolutely loved it. The set pieces were huge, it had a wonderfully done orchestral soundtrack, and come on, fucking pirates. However, I found out much later that the movie wasn't really actually received that well. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes, I found that it's a 31%. Keep in mind that's only 11% more than Identity Thief. It seems the audience generally liked it, but it didn't do so well with critics. Most notable being this man, Vincent Canby. He writes, Hook is overwhelmed by a screenplay heavy with complicated exposition by what are, in effect, big busy, non-singing, non-dancing, production numbers, and some contemporary cant about rearing children and the high price paid for success. Right, maybe back in your day, Vince, movies needed singing and dancing to match large set pieces or to be hits, but not today. Turns out the top critic for the New York Times is a song and dance enthusiast corpse. Get this geriatric fuck out of here. You know, I can take plenty of criticism about a movie I like, but don't you fucking ever suggest a film should break the narrative and go into song and dance. Fuck you, Vincent Canby. Fuck you. Reason number 3, no staying power. Certain games stick with you through the ages. Obviously we're talking about the Marios, Zeldas, Donkey Kongs, Metroids, and Shaq Fu's. To put it simply, this game was not marketed, and really had no potential for sequels.
That, along with a combination of other factors, gave it little to no staying power within the genre. It, like most movie tie-ins, was destined to sink into the quicksand of the ever-growing game library.
But enough about all that. Let's throw it in and take a look.
The game starts out with a highly abridged version of the intro from the movie. It doesn't really go into details surrounding Jack's relationship with his father, or about Wendy's accomplishments in her orphanage. None of this is really important to the narrative of the game, however. They head more for the Mario Bros. Style. Peter tells his kids that the stories about Wendy are bullshit and pushes them into bed. Meanwhile, they get kidnapped. Tink somehow knocks Peter out, and he wakes up in Neverland. The old kidnap scenario. You know the one. Once in Neverland, Peter has to speak to these boys and convince them that he himself is the real Peter Pan. One thing I always noticed here, these kids look scared shitless. I mean, look at them. They must think this fat guy fell from the sky and is here to throw them in his rapist van and take them to Vince Canby's house for a horrific yet wonderfully choreographed buggering. Anyways, they argue for a bit about him being the real Peter Pan, then the old fan favorite appears. Rufio! He flies in from the side and says, like everyone else, that it's a load of fairy shit. And while this guy may be named Peter, he's certainly no hero. Tink informs Peter that he's got some major training to do before he can convince these boys that he's the real Peter Pan.
Ain't nobody got time for that!
She throws some fairy dust on him and that's that. He certainly looks fucking ready. Then off you go. This game is a side-scroller, and a damn fine one. While at times the jumping feels a bit floaty, you're able to pull off all sorts of cool flips and falls to more than make up for it. Attacking feels pretty nice as most enemies die in one hit. Dare I call it satisfying? Peter, being the nice guy that he is, only slays adults though. He simply disarms the wee ones. While your arsenal may only consist of 2 weapons, he can only do what the Pan can. This motherfucker flies. The flying feels damn good too. Quick and multi-angle along with the float. Makes you really feel like you're actually playing the character you're supposed to be playing. You do have a limited amount of flight, which deletes rather quickly. You refill your flight meter by finding Tinkerbell and letting her take a fat piss on you. It's cold as the Rockies. Nothing like cool, refreshing fairy piss to give you those happy thoughts. But even that doesn't last forever. My recommendation, Game Genie this bitch with infinite flight and prepare for the real Peter Pan experience. The levels are done brilliantly. There's quite a bit of variety in this game as far as the stages are concerned. You'll go from forests, to mountains, to caves, to pirate ships. Each stage is also detailed wonderfully, and is really pleasing to the eyeballs. It honestly feels at times like you're exploring a fairy tale land full of pirates, mystery, and adventure. Level design and environments are make or break for a game, and it's always nice when the designers and artists get both right. I personally am a fan of games with tons of boss battles. This game has them in droves. One at the end of every level, none brutally difficult, but they provide a nice welcome challenge. To name a few, you got Rufio, Tree Bitch, 3-Dude Blimp Bonanza, Inflatable Condom Kamikaze, some sort of Skeleton King, Hawkman, and a few bouts against Captain Hook himself. The music is absolutely superb. I would have to say that it at least rivals Castlevania. It really puts the SNES to its limits in terms of quality of sound. While I'm on the subject, I have to say, please stay far away from the Genesis versions. I mean, take a look and listen to the SNES here. And now the Genesis. Why is everything yellow tinted? It looks like a shit taken after a night of heavy boozing. Not saying that the gameplay is bad, or that the SNES is better than the Genesis. I'm not here to start a war. Simply stating that, in all ways, this particular game is better on SNES. And if you disagree, then you can go die in a car fire. How about that? Win-win. For a game that's only 45 minutes beginning to end without consistent dying, there's actually a lot of variety in the enemies. Multiple types of pirates, eels, tigers, spiders, skeletons, snakes, bats, and the dreaded piranha. You eventually do fight Captain Hook. Speaking of this, I had something dawn on me while replaying the game and rewatching the film recently. Yeah, Peter Pan is kind of a dick. Think about it. Despite what happened a while back lore-wise, this kid, now adult, fucking cut off this man's hand. He cut off this man's hand and fed it to a crocodile right in fucking front of him. This then went on to have the captain nickname Captain Hook for the rest of his days. That wasn't his actual name. This, as displayed in the film, gives this guy PTSD from hell. Then, in their last encounter, he de-wigs the poor guy, shaming the shit out of the man. Why the fuck could he just not have stabbed him in the gut? That's the way real men fight, not to humiliate the other person, but to provide him an honorable death. As said a few times in the film, that's bad form. When you finally reach the captain, it follows the movie semi-closely. You do some quick battle, and then the gloves and the wig come off. Once you've defeated him, the classic crocodile comes down and swallows old Jace Hook. So we've covered the good. Now is the part where we cover the bad and the ugly. So the movement feels a bit weightless. You see, gravity doesn't really affect Peter the same way it does you and I. This can lead to some frustrating moments, especially when trying to gain momentum to jump larger obstacles. Through most of the game, you'll have your standard sword or dagger. However, within some levels, you'll be able to pick up the pan sword. It has a couple special features. You can shoot some sort of projectile from it while you have it, and it does have a bit longer reach than the standard dagger. However, its most noticeable feature is the hilt. It's covered in Anal Blast brand, trademarked, lubricant. Peter cannot hold on to this fucking thing to save his life. Once you get it, you can keep it for as long as you can go without taking damage. Once you take damage, the fucking thing is launched from your grip. Better luck next time, asshole. It doesn't help that 90% of the time the sword is in a hard to reach location with hazards that will make you lose not only the sword, but life after getting it, just trying to get back to the fucking main path. The strangest thing here is the route Peter takes to get to old James Hook. You start out here. As you can see, Hook's ship is only a few miles away, it seems. Well, instead of flying his ass over there via the coastline, Peter decides to stroll around the entire fucking continent. I mean, look at it. It's right there. But I understand, I know. It's a video game. The most devilishly evil thing about this game is the length. It's a sad 45 minutes to an hour long. Don't get me wrong, that hour is a hell of a lot of fun. However, I always wished it were a more fulfilling and longer experience. There is a silver lining to this, however. This game can be picked up pretty damn cheap on Amazon or eBay. This game gets my highest recommendation. The film is quite good as well. It may not be for everybody, but if you have young children, do them a favor and watch it with them. I can almost guarantee they'll enjoy it.
Well, that about wraps it up for Hook on Super Nintendo. 'Tis a sad tale of a game that died before its second birthday. If there's any games you think didn't get enough credit or slipped away no one played, leave me a comment below and let me know about them. You can also like and subscribe for future updates. I got some pretty cool stuff coming, so stay tuned. Well, this is that point where I say, I'm DKP from Chainsaw Productions, and until next time, this has been Games You Should Have...
Pizza.
Out. Out. Out! Or I'm gonna call the fucking cops.
Oh, shit.
That's it. I fucking quit.